Welcome back. And with weddings returning to their full glory, demand for commodities such as jewelry, sugar, edible oil, food grains, everything is picking up. The jewelry sector is expecting to see 10 to 12% higher demand as compared to pre-COVID levels. India being the second largest consumer of gold, World Gold Council says that 50% of demand comes from weddings for jewelry. And that's not the only commodity being boosted in demand. India's sugar market is estimating a record 27.5 million tons of demand in this year, with chocolate, sweets and cakes driving growth. Edible oil imports also have risen during this wedding season. So is the wedding season a year of recovery? To answer this, I am now joined by Surendra Mehta. He is director at India Bullion and Jewellers Association, and Atul Chaturvedi is executive chairman at Shree Renuka Sugars. Gentlemen, hi, thank you so much for joining us. And I want to start with jewelry first, Mr. Mehta. And this is an area where we saw very strong demand in the previous wedding season as well. But now, since the weddings are getting bigger and the number is much higher, what are the estimates that you're putting out?
Well, as rightly pointed out by World Gold Council, from the pre-COVID level, we are expecting at least 12 to 14% rise. See, in India, the wedding happens mostly in two seasons. First is between November to February. The weddings in these seasons are less, almost half of the wedding which happens during the month of April to first week of July. So between April to July, we'll see almost double the number. So in all, we have about 1 crore wedding. We have at least 50% of the jewelry demand coming from weddings only. See, this year has been phenomenal year for the jewelers. Consumers are coming out, buying jewelry. What we are seeing is that normally we have seen the lightweight jewelries are in demand, but now we are seeing even the heavyweight jewelries are in demand. And as pointed out by my earlier colleague, Mr. Vikas, the number of guests have reduced, and people have started spending more money on jewelry than on inviting guests. So that is probably the major shift we are seeing. And after COVID, everybody has started realizing the importance of jewelry, the importance of gold, importance of yellow metal, and that is how the demand is rising. And I expect a huge demand. Probably it may exceed the 14% expectation of IBJA and 12% expectation of World Gold Council.
All right. And as Vikas was pointing out, Mr. Mehta, that the major spend still continues to be from North India. So is that the trend that we're seeing for jewelry as well?
No, as far as jewelry is concerned, the major trend is always from the South India. Okay. If you look at the weddings in South India, you will probably realize that women wear a lot of jewelry. I don't know how do they even carry. Being a man, I'm not able to understand. But there is a passion for jewelry in South India. Even a small child, you will find a small female girl, you will find wearing a bangles and a chain, and there is some ring, some nose pin. So it's a passion, and the women love jewelry, but more jewelry is worn and purchased in South India. Almost 60 to 65% of the wedding jewelry is purchased in South India, and balance in rest of the India. Of course, the North India comes at number 2, and then Western India, and then Eastern.
Yeah, never underestimate on what women can do when they want to wear all of that jewelry. So yes, there's no logic to that really. But let's talk about food, and Mr. Chaturvedi, lesser people being invited, but that is not really, underestimating the fact that we are eating a lot of food, the kind of imports that are being done, the kind of buying that we have seen come in for food, sugar and edible oil both. What are the trends that you're looking at?
First and foremost, let me congratulate you for touching on a very important subject. In fact, not many channels are talking about the demand as far as marriage is concerned. In fact, you rightly pointed out that demand for commodities, whether it's edible oil or sugar, has been on the upside ever since we had Corona going into the pages of history. So in fact, Diwali was the time when we really saw demand picking up big time. And now with the wedding season on, we see the demand is rising exponentially. In fact, I would not be too surprised if during these months, the demand has actually gone up by about anything between 15 to 20%, both for edible oils and sugar as well. And this is largely because weddings are being celebrated with vengeance. In fact, last couple of years, people have been bottled up in their homes, and they are now doing it with vengeance. As a matter of fact, even today, I am attending a big fat wedding of a colleague's daughter in Ahmedabad. So weddings are really picking up on consumption. That's a fact.
Oh, well, yes, Mr. Chaturvedi, even if you're not wearing jewelry, even if you haven't bought new clothes, you definitely are eating, right? I mean, that is what we dress up for, to gorge on all of those goodies there. So is price really a matter? When you look at many of these edible food items, how have the prices been last wedding season to this wedding season?
Well, in fact, if you look at the edible oil scenario, in fact, the worst as far as the edible oil price is concerned is probably behind us. In the last maybe about, say, by June, July, we've seen markets going through the roof. But now probably the worst is behind us, and the markets have also corrected big time. And consumers are also appreciating the fact, and demand is picking up in the real sense of the term. Same goes for sugar as well. Sugar internationally is moving northward big time. But as far as India is concerned, I think the government has done a smart job of limiting the export number, which has kept the domestic values very much in check. So government has actually, what they've done is they've released only 6 million tons as an export quota, which has ensured that the domestic values of sugar remain relatively in check. In fact, these are very, very sweet times for the consumers, whether it's edible oil or whether it's sugar. And all this is getting reflected in the demand picking up. Sugar also, we are now penciling in an increase of almost something like 500,000 tons of sugar on an annualized basis, taking the figure to about closer to 27.5 million tons. Similarly, in edible oil also on an annualized basis, now we are penciling in an increase of about 5% on an annual basis. And the icing on the cake is that both sugar crop in the country is also very good. And the domestic edible oilseeds crop like soya and cotton, that is also very good. So everyone is now contributing towards the improved atmosphere in the country as far as consumption is concerned.
Clearly. Mr. Chaturvedi, we do understand that when it comes to winters and, the wedding season, the festival season, and then the New Year holidays, etc., the food demand does increase there. But as compared to the last year as well, so when you look at the edible oil imports, what is your sense? Is it more cyclical, or do you see the demand actually catching up, not just as compared to previous year, but pre-COVID years as well?
No, but compared to the pre-COVID years, I think we are now slightly above the pre-COVID years,
okay,
or maybe just about that. In fact, if you compare the numbers of this year compared to last year, in fact, our imports, which is a barometer of the demand, are higher by about closer to about 11%. In fact, we were importing around 10 to 11 lakh tons till about 3-4 months back. And now we are importing close to about 13.5 lakh tons on a monthly basis. So that is also reflecting that the demand has picked up. And similarly, sugar also, our consumption and the sugar is getting picked up like nobody's business. So inventory levels in the factories have come down drastically.
All right. So inventories are depleting. The demand is clearly going higher. And Mr. Mehta, even if we are not buying jewelry, we definitely are eating a lot attending those weddings, isn't it? Cakes, sweets, chocolates, mithais, you bring it us on. The shadi season is on here. But Mr. Mehta, also, every wedding season has its own flavor when it comes to jewelry buying as well. Sometimes it's kundan and polki and solid gold and diamonds. And there's just so much that is happening at all times. And I do understand that jewelers are really prepared this time around to cater to this kind of a demand. So what are the trends that we are seeing? What is the average ticket size spend that you're looking at as an industry this time around?
The average ticket size would still be around 75,000 to a lakh of rupees.
Okay.
But specifically this year, what we are seeing is that heavy bridal sets beyond 100 grams, 150 grams, right up to 250 grams are very much in demand. And I think this is all happening because a lot of gifting is taking place. It is not only the bride buying jewelry, but their relatives, the people who are attending marriages, they are buying jewelry. So if you ask me, across the sectors, the average buying must be coming about 70,000 to a lakh of rupees.
All right. We speak about gold all the time, but I do understand that when it comes to wedding gifting, silver also plays a very important part here. And we've seen record silver imports into the country this year around. What is your sense on the kind of demand that we are seeing? And is that demand also rising with the wedding season on?
Silver is normally gifted specifically in Maharashtra and some parts of northern India. But I do not see basically that silver really matters as far as the number of weddings are concerned. Silver is people keep buying silver on the estimates purely as an investment for the investment purpose. I think it has very little to do with the wedding demand. But if you ask me, diamonds, yes, people do spend a lot of money on diamonds.
Well, yes, record weddings and a lot of spend is what we've seen in the markets there. So whether it's about spending on organized wedding, destination weddings, jewelry, food, sugar, everything really seems to be surging up. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for joining us and really opening up on what really can be expected in these commodities in the days to come. But with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Commodity Champions. Thank you so much for watching.